Ever wondered if the corporate world is the real jungle? It's a thought that has crossed many minds, especially those navigating the labyrinth of corporate life. The corporate world, much like a jungle, is often perceived as a ruthless environment where only the strong survive. When you think about it, the analogy is quite apartment A jungle is a complex ecosystem teeming with life. It's a place of fierce competition where every creature must fight for its survival. Similarly, the corporate world is a bustling arena filled with ambitious individuals, all striving to make their mark. Let's take a closer look at this comparison. In the jungle, animals compete for essential resources like food and water. Predators and prey are engaged in a constant struggle, a dance of life and death. In the corporate world, people compete for resources too, though of a different kind. Promotions, recognition, and opportunities become the food and water of this concrete jungle. Adaptation is another commonality. In the jungle, animals adapt to their environment to survive. They evolve, developing traits that give them an edge in the competition for resources. Similarly, in the corporate world, professionals must adapt to the constantly changing business environment. They must learn new skills, embrace new technologies, and adjust to shifting market trends to stay ahead of the game. And then there are survival strategies. In the jungle, some animals rely on camouflage, others on speed, strength, or cunning. In the corporate world, survival strategies might involve networking, negotiation skills, or the ability to innovate and think outside the box. So, is the corporate world the real jungle? Well, it's certainly a world of competition, adaptation, and survival strategies. But it's also a world of collaboration, innovation, and mutual growth. It's a world where the rules of the game are constantly evolving and where success often depends on how well you can adapt to these changes. Now that we've set the stage, let's delve deeper into this corporate jungle. In the corporate world, just like in the jungle, there are predators and there's prey. Now let's dive into this comparison a bit further. In the wilderness, the predators are the ones who chase, who hunt, who go after what they want with a fierce determination. In the corporate world, these are your CEOs, your top-level executives, the movers and shakers who are always on the prowl for the next opportunity. They're the ones who set the pace, who dictate the rules of the game. Then we have the herbivores. In the jungle, these are creatures who graze, who consume resources, but generally don't engage in the hunt. In the corporate arena, these are your rank-and-file employees. They're essential for the ecosystem to function, consuming resources like salaries, benefits, and office space, while producing the work that keeps the company running. And of course, we can't forget about the omnivores. These creatures, both in the jungle and the corporate world, have a knack for adaptability. They're your middle managers, your team leads. They can blend into the background when necessary, but they can also take charge, making them integral to the survival and success of their respective ecosystems. Just as in the jungle, competition for resources in the corporate world is fierce. Every herbivore is competing for the best grazing spots, just as every employee is striving for promotions, raises, and recognition. Predators too are in a constant struggle for dominance, vying for the most profitable deals, the highest market share, the most influential contacts. Power dynamics are also at play, with the predators typically holding the most sway. However, as any biologist will tell you, an ecosystem is about balance. Too many predators can lead to a collapse, just as an overabundance of herbivores can lead to resource depletion. Similarly, too many CEOs can lead to a lack of direction, while too many employees without adequate leadership can result in chaos. Survival strategies vary, but they often involve adaptation, cooperation, and sometimes a bit of cunning. Whether you're a predator, herbivore, or omnivore, survival in both the jungle and the corporate world requires strategy, resilience, and sometimes a bit of luck. But it's not all about survival. There's more to the jungle, and there's more to the corporate world. The jungle has its own laws. So does the corporate world. In the jungle, the rules are unwritten, yet understood by all its inhabitants. The lion, the king of the jungle, knows its position and power. It understands that it must hunt to feed its pride, and it must protect its territory from intruders. The meek deer, on the other hand, comprehends its vulnerability. It knows that it must stay alert, blend in, and move in herds for safety. In the corporate world too, there are rules, both written and unwritten. The written rules are the company policies, the contracts, the non-disclosure agreements. They are the tangible laws that govern the functioning of the corporate ecosystem. But then there are the unwritten rules, the politics, the power dynamics, the unspoken expectations. These rules, in both the jungle and the corporate world, shape behavior. In the jungle, the lion doesn't hunt the deer out of malice, but out of necessity. It's the law of survival. Similarly, in the corporate world, an employee doesn't outshine a colleague out of spite, but to climb the corporate ladder, to secure that promotion. It's the law of ambition. The rules also determine success. In the jungle, the fittest, the quickest, the most adaptable survive and thrive. The lion maintains its reign by being the strongest. The deer survives by being the quickest. In the corporate world, success is determined by skill, hard work, networking, and sometimes knowing how to play the game. The CEO reaches the top by being the most strategic. The fresher survives by being the most adaptable. So, while the jungle and the corporate world may seem worlds apart, they are bound by a common thread, laws that govern them. These laws, whether understood by instinct or learned through experience, define the way of life in both these worlds. So, we've seen that the laws of the jungle and corporate law have a lot in common, but what about the inhabitants? In both the jungle and the corporate world, adaptation is key to survival. This statement is as true as it is timeless. Let's delve into the significance of adaptation in both domains. In the heart of the jungle, life is a constant dance of change. Creatures big and small must adapt to the shifting seasons, the availability of food, and the presence of predators. A chameleon changes its color to blend with its environment, a survival tactic that's as much about evasion as it is about hunting. Similarly, a tree frog may develop a more potent poison over generations to fend off predators, a clear display of evolution at work. Now let's turn our gaze to the corporate jungle. Here, adaptation takes on a different, yet no less critical form. Professionals must continually evolve their skills to stay relevant in the face of technological advancements and changing market trends. Think of it as the human equivalent of the chameleon's color change. But adaptation in the corporate world doesn't stop at individual skills. Businesses too must evolve to survive. They must innovate, restructure, and sometimes even reinvent their entire business model to stay afloat in the tumultuous sea of market dynamics. Much like the tree frog, companies that fail to adapt risk becoming prey in the corporate food chain. However, adaptation is not a solitary journey. In the jungle, species often adapt together, forming symbiotic relationships for mutual benefit. In the corporate world, this translates to collaboration and partnerships. Companies that adapt together grow together. Yet, adaptation is not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's a constant learning process, a dance with change. It's about recognizing opportunities, taking risks, and most importantly, learning from failures. So yes, adaptation is crucial, but it's not the only strategy for success in the corporate jungle. It is just one part of a larger puzzle. Just as a chameleon must do more than change its color to survive, professionals and businesses must do more than adapt to thrive. They must innovate, collaborate, and evolve, all while keeping their core values intact. Because in the end, the corporate jungle, much like the natural one, is a game of survival and growth, and the rules of this game are constantly evolving. The jungle is often seen as a place of solitary survival, but the corporate world values teamwork. In the wild, the law of the jungle dictates that only the strongest and the fittest survive. There's a common perception that this principle applies to the corporate world as well. Yes, there's competition, and yes, sometimes it's fierce. But unlike the jungle, the corporate world is not solely populated by solitary predators. It's a place where teamwork is highly valued. In the corporate world, you're not just an individual trying to survive. You're part of a team working towards a common goal. You're not just competing against others, you're also collaborating with them. This is where the corporate world differs significantly from the jungle. Survival in the corporate world doesn't necessarily mean outdoing everyone else. It means collaborating effectively with others and contributing to the success of the team. But let's not dismiss the jungle entirely. Even in the wild, many animals rely on teamwork and social structures to survive. Wolves hunt in packs, bees live in hives, and even lions, the kings of the jungle, live in prides. In fact, many of the most successful species in the animal kingdom are those that have learned to work together. Teamwork is not just about the division of labor. It's about combining different skills, perspectives, and experiences to achieve something that's greater than the sum of its parts. It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected, that our success is tied to the success of others. And this is as true in the corporate world as it is in the jungle. So if the jungle is a place of solitary survival and the corporate world is a place of teamwork, what does that tell us? Perhaps that the corporate world is not as cutthroat as we often think, or perhaps that the jungle is not as solitary as we often imagine. So it seems the corporate world might not be as cutthroat as the jungle after all, or is it?